You're listening to the Pittsburgh Piledriver.
What the hell is that?
Podcast.
Well, hi there. It's, that time of the month. Nope, that time of the week. If you're a rapidly ovulating lady, it's your time of the week. And it's our time of the week because it's the Pittsburgh Piledriver Podcast Day. It's Thursday, and that's what we're going to do here today. So, a little treat for everybody, a little treat. Depending on how you look at it, it's a treat or, a deficit of fun, depending on, who you are and how you see things. But there's still going to be 4 of us tonight. However, you're going to be treated to Poot the Bard, Tiger Bomb Tom, the rightful Pittsburgh Piledriver Podcast Cruiserweight Champion, Ransom the Mad King, and you can all suck it if you disagree because I don't care. I got the belt. Come get some bitch. And unfortunately, Beef the Legend's not going to be here tonight because he ate too much ice cream, got an upset tum-tum, his diabetes acted up, he vomited everywhere, and now he's resting his little tummy dumpling because, I ate all the ice cream and now I've got the grumbles. But instead of Beef, we've got the mid-card maniac himself, the Bastard Pat. So, still going to be a 4-man show, still going to be just as disappointing as ever, because let's face it, we're going to talk about WWE tonight. It's a wrestling podcast. How do you not talk about WWE on a wrestling podcast? And really, there's only depressing news that ever comes out of the Fed anymore. So let's go ahead and jump right into the disaster that is befallen us here, gents. Let's talk, everyone.
What, the disaster that Beef's not here, or the disaster that we are joined by the Bastard Pat?
Or all the disasters.
All of it. And then
all the disasters.
I'm sure there's more disasters to talk about that involve WWE.
There's too many. There's too many disasters to keep track of. I was trying to think of like, what are we going to talk about tonight? And I was like, well, at least we'll have a bright spot with Beef telling us all about how awesome AEW was. But you know what? Fucking disappointment.
Nope.
As usual.
Ate too much ice cream. Got a grumpy tum-tum.
Vince McMahon poisoned his ice cream. That's what it was. He was poisoned by the WWE flunkies, and they came around and they just made him all sicky doodles. That's why they knew he was. What?
Speaking of WWE flunkies and poison, I am going to kick off this show by talking about disappointment. Are you surprised? Probably not. But I'm going to talk about disappointment in AEW. That might be a surprise because usually all we do on this podcast is cup the AEW scrot and suck the AEW D until we get the AEW sperms and, have a tummy full of AEW little babies. But, yeah, right. Visualize that.
Bitch. I was going to say between this and rapidly ovulating women, man, this podcast is taking a turn for I don't know.
Usually you're the one that's always about bringing up the genitalia. So
hey, usually it's usually. Well, yeah. I mean, I usually bring up genitalia.
It's always you.
Poot. Well, I was gonna say I usually don't bring up my own tripod. Poot usually does that.
Well, Poot or Beef. I think they just got some jealousy.
How?
But shut up! I'm not.
Can I not? How can I not?
We're still talking about it. Okay, so the problem with this and the disappointment that we have, I mean me, I don't know, maybe you guys are thrilled. It's hard for me to say anymore. But apparently, according to our own legendary reporter, Beefus, the ice cream legend, he has reported, because he was at AEW last night, that it is official at All In, All Out, All Whatever's Next. Christian is officially challenging Kenny Omega for the AEW Championship. What the farm is AEW doing with their WrestleMania of shows having a WWE former tag team champion in Christian facing Kenny freaking Omega for their world title? I don't understand.
All right.
Yeah.
Before Tom, I don't mean to interrupt you. I think before we go ahead and do this, I think because he was gracious enough to join us so we could have our required amount of people on the podcast, let's have Pat give his opinion. For his opinion on it. Pat, would you lead us off?
Oh, sure. Thank you very much there, Pootsky.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. So I can really see it both ways. You have everything. No, you have everything made for Hangman Page to face off against Kenny Omega at All Out. But Christian is a former world champion.
Oh.
And at your quote-unquote WrestleMania, I could see wanting to have the caliber of a former world champion going against your current world champion. That does not mean that I approve of Christian being in the title hunt. I think it should be Hangman Adam Page. I think his time has come, and he should be in the main event going against Kenny Omega.
So, can I rebut for a quick second on that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I get what you're saying. He's a former world champion. But he's a former world champion like David Arquette is a former world champion.
Whoa!
Sorry, Christian. Sorry. I mean, he was. The only reason he won that heavyweight title was because Edge vacated it and had to retire due to neck injury. If that never would have happened, I'm really confident that Christian never would have held the World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Championship. His main title reign would have stopped with the ECW Championship.
Hold on, did he?
The only reason he won that, what, Tom?
Did he ever hold the WWE Championship? I thought he only had.
No. He was just a World Heavyweight Champion.
Okay.
What I'm saying is he wouldn't have won either belt.
Oh yeah.
If it wasn't for Edge having to retire the way Edge retired. They wanted that feel-good moment with Christian winning that title, the one that Edge just gave up because he has to retire. So hugs and huggies and we're brothers, but not really, we're just friends. That's the only reason he won it. If Edge never would have retired at that point, or if Edge was not the World Heavyweight Champion when he retired, Christian's main title reign would have stopped with the ECW title. So I disagree when it's like, oh, but it's a former world champion. Yeah, technically he is. But when you think of world champions, he's not one that comes to mind.
And that's understandable. And I will agree with you on that. Whenever people talk about, the champions, former champions and everything, he's not exactly the first person on everyone's lips. I will absolutely give you that. But the thing is, if you look at his body of work, like, he has consistently proved that he can go. He's consistently proven that he can be entertainment, and he has wrestled at the top level for years and years and years and years. He knows how to handle himself. He knows how to tell a story. He knows how to make his opponent look like a big deal. And understandably, Kenny Omega, of anyone in wrestling right now, doesn't need a crutch for anyone to elevate him to a higher spot. However, you can keep pushing. You know what I mean? And this, obviously, I'm not saying that that Christian, it's going to be a fast thing where Kenny Omega is going to come out, lay waste to Christian and everything. But I'm just saying, I feel like putting him in the realm of a David Arquette or something like that. Now, and I understand you were talking just strictly in the bubble of like a world champion, but he's a multiple time tag champion. He was a European champion. If I'm not mistaken, he held the IC belt at one point. Yeah. So like, that's the thing, is Christian is a journeyman, if you will, as far as titles in WWE go. And I mean, even when he went to TNA, his run in TNA was better than it had any right to be. And now
Okay.
him coming into AEW and the whole outwork everyone, he's in the best shape in a long time. He's, you can see a little bit of rust on him and he's slowed down. But you see that with Chris Jericho. You see that with anyone who's part of that kind of generation. Now, do I think that it should be him over Hangman? Absolutely not. However, I'm going to let you guys talk. There is a caveat that was mentioned on Dynamite this week that I think could save us all. Continue.
So now I agree with what you're saying here, and I'll let Tom talk here in just a second. I know I've been dominating this, but this ticks me off a bit. So again, Pooh, I get what you're saying in saying that he's a multiple-time tag team champion, European champion. He was a cruiserweight champion, maybe, or a light heavyweight champion, maybe at some point, or at least
he was light heavyweight
for that. Okay, so he was light heavyweight. He was intercontinental. Great. Well, so was Road Dogg. Road Dogg was all those things. He was entertaining. He was an IC champion, multiple-time tag team champion. He was a hardcore champion. If he was the same age as Christian, are we going to justify him being in a world title match with Kenny Omega? Because he is all those things that you mentioned about Christian. No. And again, I love the Road Dogg. I thought the New Age Outlaws were arguably, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of arguments out of this, but I think they were arguably one of the best tag teams that ever existed. But that doesn't mean he deserves to be in a title match, A, with Kenny Omega, or B, on a show that, for all intents and purposes, has done a magnificent job of highlighting up-and-coming talent and saying, we are the future of wrestling. We're building the future here with these young, up-and-coming talents, these young, hungry guys. We're building the future. MJF, Jungle Boy. The list goes on. I'm not going to freaking try to name it my whole crap ton. That's pointless. You know the roster. I think it does a disservice to all those guys. If this truly happens, if the match goes on the way it's supposed to go on, or is going to go on the way that they say it is, which is just those two one-on-one, it does a disservice to all the young up-and-coming guys who went to AEW seeking opportunity to shine. I'm not saying that Christian shouldn't be featured. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be touted as, hey, we have a great former, whatever world champion. Yeah, talent. Like, yeah, man, he's awesome. He is. But he's not world title number one contender. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm done.
I'm with you on that, and we discussed it some last week as well, when we said that it would be kind of shitty if they pulled the same thing how they did with the whole John Cena Finn Balor escapade there. But now again, I know Poot said there might be a caveat that gets us out of this. Being that I, can't watch Dynamite now, currently until I figure out a way. I don't.
Yeah, what is that caveat?
I don't know. We're gonna find out here in a second. I don't see how they get out of this unless there is unless they do a triple threat match or they literally do some sort of jiggery pokery. Literally at the beginning of the match, Christian gets attacked backstage or something, and then Tony Khan comes out and says, well, you know what? We're going to have a world title match, and it's going to be, then they cue up Hangman's music, and it's him. You know what I mean? That's the only way I see them getting out of it, is making it either a triple threat match or something just really overbooked, for a lack of better words. A whole big old fucking, I don't know, whatever. Poot, what is the caveat that you were mentioning?
So here's my point, is that if you watch Dynamite this week, they had mentioned Christian is set to take on Kenny Omega, right?
Right.
Well, I think it's on Rampage, the debut of Rampage. He's facing Kenny Omega for the Impact title.
Oh.
So here's my theory, and this is why with anything AEW does, I'm always willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and go, there's something at a longer play. I think part of it is we're so conditioned by WWE to not think even a modicum of long term, because WWE just this. You know what I mean? Like they, you know, so my thought was, all right, Christian's being lined up here. It should be Hangman. What they're doing, they pull Hangman out of this. They put Christian up there. People are kind of booing Christian whenever he talks about challenging for the belt on there and everything. They hear him. So Christian announces, he says, on Rampage, I'm challenging you for the Impact title. Let's say, for giggles, okay, he wins the Impact title from Kenny, right? So the following, you know, subsequent time before All Out, Kenny's clutching onto the AEW belt. He's holding on to it. He's paranoid. He's this, he's that. I lost to Christian. How can I beat him again? You know, this, that, and the other thing. And then it gets pulled. Oh, Christian has now requirements for Impact. He has to be Impact champion. And he can't do that title. Who is possibly going to challenge Kenny Omega other than someone who will do some cowboy shit? Now, the other way is Kenny beats Christian, hangs on to that belt. Christian gets injured, kayfabe, injured in that match. And Kenny talks about how he won't defend. And then, of course, Paige's music hits. And there is nuclear pop. I'm talking Road Warrior pop. That's what I'm talking. That's the thing is, I don't think. I really, really don't think. I'm not saying it's 100% certain. I'm saying, you know, I'm saying 75% chance that Christian is actually going to face him right now. I'm leaning more towards it and going, oh, they might actually pull the trigger on this right now. But until things flesh out a little bit more, I gotta believe that they're going to find some way to put Hangman in Christian's spot, and Hangman wins that belt and just has the biggest pop in a decade.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't think I know. Like, all of us were shocked whenever Hangman and Dark Order did not win in that match against Kenny and the rest of the Elite. Like, I was sitting there, I'm like, well, how the fuck are they gonna get themselves painted out of this corner? Like, I don't. So, and I think you may be right, Pood. I think it's just a matter of we're not used to having some semi long term booking. We're you know, we're institutionalized to expect what we get from WWE, and that's it, you know. So
yeah, like
you're convinced that Christian won't be going for the AEW World Title then? I don't think so. I think that's a way those are two ways that are very possible that they're going to book their way out of having Christian actually contend for that belt. I really believe that. See, this whole thing about Christian going on to face Kenny at All Out for the world title is a ruse, a red herring.
Yeah, I think it is. I do. In one way or another, I think it's a red herring because think about it. It's if you just lined up Hangman, you get your standard big pop, you know, big build up and everything. It's very standard. It's very almost formulaic. If you do this where it's like, okay, AEW set this, there's no illusions, there's no nothing, there's no Hangman coming out to help, none of that. It's, you know, because Christian has the Jurassic Express in tow. Like, this is a way for them to do it to where when Adam Page gets announced, it is going to create a monster buzz. It's going to create a lot of news. I really believe that.
What do you think, Matt? How do you think you agree with Poot? Like they're going to find a way out of it?
I want that to happen. As far as it actually happening, I'm being a little bit of a pessimist on it. I don't think it'll happen, but I don't think if Christian goes through with the world title matches, he's not going to win it.
Okay.
If they put it in Christian, I think at this time right now that's foolish.
That'd be silly.
Because you have that heat and that build up with Hangman, and if you just throw that away, then you're no better than WWE right now.
And really, if you think about it too, like just I don't know. Imagine the smart marks, like and I'm not ripping on Beef here. I'm just because I imagine Beef's rage when they announced Christian versus Kenny at All Out. I could picture the rage and disappointment on his face. But if you like, just imagine if that match goes through 1-on-1 and Christian does wind up beating him for the title, that'll be what, four different AEW World Champions since the inception of that title, right?
Yes.
Okay. 4 different world champions since the inception of that title. 3 out of the 4 are former WWE guys. That is not a good look. It's just not. When you're a brand and you're a business that is, kind of touting like, hey, we're the young and up and comers. We're the new guys. Like, we're the new blood. We're the new infusion into the wrestling world. And you have 3 out of your 4 champions in history being former WWE guys. Oh, that's not good. Oh, that's not good. That's a very bad look.
Well, you're not, I mean, yeah.
No, I say nothing, and again, this is nothing against Chris Jericho, because Lord knows that man is probably the greatest thing that has ever happened to wrestling. And that's coming from probably one of the biggest Shawn Michaels marks that has ever lived. But Chris Jericho has surpassed Shawn Michaels at this point. And I don't really care what anybody chooses to say. It would take a very big argument to convince me otherwise. I feel Chris Jericho has surpassed a John Cena, of The Rock, of the Stone Cold, and of the Hulk Hogan. Because while they were all trendsetters, while they were all huge moneymakers, Jericho has reinvented himself and been so successful in so many different places, far surpassing them when it comes to the wrestling world. He's on a plane above all others. So it's nothing against him. It's nothing against Jon Moxley, because Jon Moxley was an indie guy first. Then he came in and became a WWE guy, sure. But I don't know. I just think it's a bad look. Like, hey, these 4 guys, only one has never been in WWE.
Yeah, but it's not like taking, they took John Cena or any bigger guys, or even like really low card guys, brought them up and went, this is our new champion because he was in WWE. They took Chris Jericho, lent realism to that belt. Like, yes. He lent legitimacy. That's why Jericho had that. And Jericho's infinitely entertaining and infinitely creative. Then when you had it put on, who was it? It was Jericho and then Moxley, right?
Yes.
It was Jericho and then Moxley. But see, here's the thing. You could say, yeah, okay, because, Dean Ambrose was a WWE champion. But Dean Ambrose was a woefully watered down version of Jon Moxley. We never got to see what John Moxley in there. So having it put on him, it was Jericho being the legendary kind of, I hate to put it this way because it sounds kind of crass, but the old guard in there that went, right. This is that. And then when Moxley took it off him, you went, oh, damn. We're seeing this guy, you know, who was wildly misused. And now we're seeing the real raw version of him. And we're seeing the base version of Jon Moxley, which is perfect. And he carried that title with great aplomb. And it kind of lent it, now it's more modern, it's more recent. Then after Moxley, who was it?
Kenny.
It was Kenny. So it's three guys, right? Christian is not gonna be carrying that belt. I really don't believe that. I don't believe that Christian's going to win that belt. But it's Kenny. In my mind, you don't have, and this is splitting hairs, but I feel like it's hair that deserves splitting. Jericho, yes, WWE guy. But I would argue that Moxley and Omega, not WWE guys. Jon Moxley,
Omega was never in WWE.
Yeah, the man was in WWE, but Jon Moxley wasn't.
Right, Omega wasn't, though.
Omega wasn't either. So you could argue that one of them, and with really good reason. Because if you think back to them, if you would have put that belt on any of the other people that started in AEW, nothing against them, it wouldn't have had the flash and flare and legitimacy that Jericho lent to the belt.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I mean I think Ransom, you and I were the ones that picked Jericho to win whenever he did way back when, because we said, like, you know, just the fact of having that established name, regardless of where he's been, you know, regardless of his WWE tenure. I mean, now don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna, you know, try to suck the Vince and Kennedy McMahon, you know, old shriveled cock now or anything, but you know, I wouldn't say, like, when we're talking about it, we're kind of, you know, even though we do bitch about WWE, the fact that somebody was in there shouldn't necessarily be a negative thing, because the fact that they, you know, got to there is quite an accomplishment. I mean, well, hell, you know, once upon a time, one of the Jackson brothers, or possibly both of them, were in WWE. I mean, they were there, you know, doing some jobber spots or whatever way back when, on probably like a Velocity or something. But, you know, like, you get what I'm saying. Like, but I gotta agree. I don't see Christian winning that belt. There's got to be some way that they're gonna get Hangman inserted back into the picture. There just has to be. And I feel it's just, that's the more complete story there. You have the history, you know, both kayfabe and real life with Hangman and Kenny, and everything with, you know, the Elite. You know, Hangman's a monster babyface right now who can literally do no wrong by the standards of the AEW fan base. Christian, you know, people are excited to see him, but that's not their guy. Like, this is a case where Hangman is you know, to borrow The Rock's phrase, the people's champ. You know, he is the anointed one right now. Christian, you know, hey, we were all excited to see him. Is good to see him come in AEW and, you know, still see that he had something in the tank. But he's not the guy that the crowd is behind. You know, I mean, hell, I think it would have got a hell of a pop if you know, if Jungle Boy had won the title or whatever. But, you know, his time will come. His time will come. But he's another one. Jungle Boy is a monster baby face that can do no wrong by the standards of the AEW universe. So the smart money is to have Paige end up being your champion sooner rather than later, I'd say. I mean, Lord knows I love me Kenny Omega, and I appreciate a good heel and a good heel run. Just they make you tune in, see who's gonna kick his ass week after week. Who's gonna give him his comeuppance, and they hook you that way. And but I don't know. I don't know how much longer they have with this Kenny run, to be perfectly honest. I'm not saying it's getting stale, but I'm just saying I don't see where else. I don't see what more they can do with it. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense?
It does. I truly believe it has to end it all out. It has to. Like, that's their equivalent to WrestleMania.
Right.
That's where it should end. Unless he's going to hang on to that title for another whole like half a year or something.
And they go to Revolution or Full Gear.
Yeah, or Double or Nothing, or something like that. Like it. This is where he needs to lose it. But Christian's not the guy to lose it to. I feel like you're going backwards at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Started out with Jericho, like Poot said, great legacy, brings legitimacy. It passes to Jon Moxley. He was a WWE guy, but he was never himself there. He was a neutered version of himself. He comes to AEW and they let him be him. He held the title well. Then it passes to Kenny Omega. New blood, the best wrestler that is, in the ring today. To go to Christian is like 12 steps backwards. And again, Christian has had a phenomenal.
That'd be 12 steps. That'd be 12 steps backwards if it went to Jeff Hardy.
Oh, jeez.
No, that'd be
Jey
three
Uso.
sheets to the wind. 3 sheets to the wind if it went to Jeff Hardy.
3 sheets to a whisper in the wind.
But you're going backwards at that point.
Right.
To pass it to Christian, you're going backwards. It needs to pass from Kenny. My point is it needs to pass from Kenny to a new blood.
Yeah.
That's what must happen. And
Now,
I'm not even saying it has to be Adam Page. I feel like that's the best choice and the obvious choice. But like Tom said, even if it went to Jungle Boy, still a gigantic pop, huge baby face, new blood, no complaints out of me if it passes the Jungle Boy. I don't think it will, but I'm just using that as an example. If it did, zero complaints. Christian's not the guy.
Right. No, I mean, my point with Jungle Boy was just the fact that him and Hangman are both these monster faces. Now, granted, Christian is a face, but like I said, he's not the anointed one by the AEW masses. Those two definitely are. Now, I'm gonna pose something. I'm gonna pose another question for you, even more forward thinking. So let's go with a hypothetical. We'll say Hangman does become your champion. Say Hangman is the one. Say that Hangman is the one to take it off of Kenny. Now, some really forward thinking, and I already know my answer. Who do you think ends up taking it off of Hangman then? This is like for really forward fantasy booking.
Pat, what do you think? What's your fantasy book?
Oh my gosh, that's. Ooh. I'm gonna have to think about that when you guys come back to me on that one.
I know you want to say Cody. I know you want to say Cody. That's fine.
So the way I'm thinking things here with fantasy booking, this Adam Page thing, if he wins the title, if he remains a face, and this is all a caveat on whether or not he remains a face. If he turns heel, I don't know. I feel like there could be a few, but I don't know who. But I believe if he stays a face, I think they continue with this tradition of not hot potatoing this world title, giving each champion a healthy run with it. I think the person that could potentially take the title away from him. Again, all basing it on if he remains a face, is MJF. Because I feel like if he holds that title for a decent amount of time, that gives MJF the time needed to finish up any feuding that he's going to do with Jericho and the Inner Circle, for him to move on to, you know, some other people in between. And then when the time comes for Adam Page to pass the torch, if it's going to go to a heel, I believe it would have to go to MJF, because I think at that point, MJF would be supernova as far as heel popularity, the heat that he would have with the fan base. And maybe I'm completely wrong, because maybe it would be one of those things where it's like, oh, it's too obvious to be MJF. But I don't know. When I think about long term, I think MJF at that point, it would be hotter of a heel than he is now. And he's already just, you know, on fire as a heel. But I truly believe it would need to be MJF.
It would. I mean, that makes perfect sense. You have it on a mega heel right now. Then you have it on a mega face. It only makes sense to have a mega heel take it off him. And especially with MJF, you could let him run with that belt forever. Forever. You could let him, that could go as long as you want, and he would make it. Again, it's kind of like with Jericho. That's the thing. Everyone that they're putting the belt on is interesting. It's interesting. They are compelling. You want to see what they're going to do. They're good in the ring. They're good on the mic. They're very creative. They're not just hot potatoing belts. You know what I mean?
Yep, 100%.
I was gonna say, and this is why Ransom and I are you know, have been friends for so long, because you were definitely on my wavelength, because that's exactly where I was hoping somebody besides myself would say was MJF, because there is no better heel. I don't care. You can try to argue me down, fight me. There's no better heel in the world of, I'm gonna say, AEW and WWE wrestling than MJF right now. I don't know shit about Impact, so I can't really say, and I don't watch Raw. But MJF, I won't even say arguably, because you can't argue it. He is the best heel right now, what we have going on today. And the thing is he's only gonna get better. He's a young buck. You know what I mean? Like he's like, I think he's
early 20s, isn't he?
He's the oldest I think he is maybe 25, and that I may even be a year or two off on that. But he's young, and he's just gonna keep getting better. And the thing is the way he is now. And I've heard, I was listening to a little bit of Mark Madden on the way on the end of my shift today and stuff.
Shame on you, but go on.
Well, okay. I mean, that's a whole nother topic, but I will just say he has some interesting discussions. He had an interview with old Double A Arn Anderson today.
Ooh.
And they were talking about AEW, because Mark Madden was there at the show last night. And they were talking, and they got on the topic of MJF or whatever. And you know, they talked about how MJF's interactions, if they have any like fan meet and greets and stuff like that, he doesn't break kayfabe. He just continues to act like an ass and make kids cry and stuff like that. And Mark said, you know, I've heard some people say like, oh, you got to watch with that or whatever, you know, don't make the kids cry. He's like, I say personally, screw it. He's like, keep going with it. He's like, he's the best heel for that reason. He lives the gimmick. You know.
Yeah.
Now
that's the same thing with the Undertaker.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Look at how
the Undertaker lived the gimmick. He
would
go to airports. Oh, for so long.
Yeah.
Like he would dress all in black. You know, he wouldn't have the dead man outfit on, but he'd be dressed all in black, and he wouldn't do it. Like he wouldn't do a whole lot of talking. He'd stay nice and quiet and stoic. He lived the character, and look how well he did, and look how believable he made that character because he lived it. I think MJF is doing exactly what he needs to do.
Oh yeah, personally, I say keep it up. Because I mean, it's everybody loves a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. Everybody likes to feel that they're involved. It's just it's inherent human nature. We want to feel included. We want to feel involved to some degree. Even the most introverted people, to a degree, there is just a basic human element that's like, I want to be on the inside with this, whatever, whatever nth degree. So yeah, people love, especially in the world of pro wrestling, to be on the inside. And it's like, oh yeah, he's a dick on TV, but he's like one of the coolest people I ever met. No, not MJF. Like, you don't know where the character ends and where the man begins, and I think that's even more interesting. But it's funny because I don't know. I mean, I think you guys are a little bit like with me on this, where you get a good heel, and even if they're not trying to be like the cool heel, you still end up liking him because you're just like, yeah, he's a dick and he's great at it. Like, just keep it up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It makes for entertaining TV because you have to, because no matter what, you can put him up against anybody, and he can verbally lambaste somebody and just tear them down and make them seem so insignificant or whatever. He's fantastic at what he does. That's just what it comes down to, is he's just that good at his job. So I absolutely would love to see, especially, and I say because the fact, if they go forward with Hangman, because Hangman is the can do no wrong mega babyface, you have to, like, the logical thing would be to put the title on the ultra mega, can never do any right by the fans, mega dickhead in MJF. And I always say that with all sincerity and respect. Not that he's ever going to listen to this fucking podcast, but I mean, come on.
Right. Well, I mean, he's the perfect foil. He's the perfect foil to babyface Adam Page. Now, don't get me wrong. I would love to see some other number one contenders peppered in there. I'd have no problem with that. Super fantasy booking here. If Bryan Danielson shows up, CM Punk, if he shows up, if Adam Cole shows up, or Wyndham Rotunda, I begrudge any of them nothing. If they get thrown into a number one contendership against Adam Page, fine with that. I believe that those would lead to some ridiculous matches, super entertaining. But I don't think that any of them should be the one that would take the belt from him. I'm okay if they have number one contender shots. But I'm talking about who takes the title away from Adam Page if he wins it. I think that should be MJF.
Yep.
That
good. Oh my.
Good Lord.
Goodness gracious.
No,
hey, it's fine. It's just some dragons.
Imagine.
It had to be. Oh, Tom.
I just wanted to shit in Poots Wheaties.
No,
right now.
see, normally I'm all for a good pun, but man, you referenced Imagine Dragons, and just fuck.
He's just disappointed because you stole his thunder.
I'm just fuck. Okay,
that's a perfect
thunder. The thunder.
But no, and again, it's the perfect. It's perfect that we're all on the same wavelength, because it has to be MJF. Like, it can't. Nothing against other other groups or anything in that, but it just makes sense. Like, they've been putting that together for so long, and MJF would be the perfect foil for Adam Page. He just would. He just absolutely would. Especially if the Pinnacle.
Assuming Adam Page stays a face.
Which I think he will. He will. Like, so I don't really have much more to say on that. Like, Pat, have you had time to think about it?
Yeah. I have got this Yes.
Uh-oh.
So we're going to make it 4 for 4. MJF.
Okay.
But I went a step further.
Uh-oh.
Assuming somewhere down the line he does a heel turn.
Oh, yes.
And we've had time to develop more of these wrestlers that have come in and have now established themselves. I could see Malachi Black challenging.
Oh, dear.
All right.
Now,
I'm here for it.
What is he right now? Is he a face or a heel?
I mean, he's supposed to be a heel, but he's going up against Cody Rhodes, and people are not high on Cody right now. And also,
no, they're not.
And also, here's the other problem. Again, Malachi Black, Aleister Black, Tommy End, whatever you want to call him, he has the it factor. You look at that guy and you just go, he's cool and I love him. You can't help it. Like, that's the problem with guys like that, is that they're supposed oh, thanks.
Yeah.
They're heels that make good points. Like, that's the thing. MJF is a heel that makes good points, but he's such a big dickhead that his points often get lost in his own bluster. And I'm not wrong here. Malachi Black is a roundly is an anti-hero or a bad guy that makes good points. When you hear him talk, you know he's not a good guy, but you go, well, yeah. Like, you go, yeah, okay, yeah. Like, you go, all right, I'm here for it. I get what you're saying. I would like to subscribe to your dark newsletter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just can't.
Tell me more about the Dark Lord and Conqueror Cthulhu. I'm here for it.
No.
Please come in and sit down. Have a cup of coffee. Like, let's talk. You can't help it. It's just that's the thing. And I think that's why I think Malachi Black is an excellent choice, Pat. And I want to hear your reasons why. Yeah. I know I kind of started yammering, but
that's okay.
I feel like he would be a better foil for someone else.
He kind of has what I would call, like how we were talking about earlier, the John Moxley syndrome, where he has great talent. He's great in the ring. He's good on the mic. But when he was in WWE, it got watered down.
Yep.
He had the cool entrance, but when was he ever really allowed to shine on the mic or in the ring when he was with WWE? And I think
NXT, yeah.
To an extent, NXT.
Yeah, but you look at guys that are on NXT and then they get brought up to the main roster, they're all getting buried or they're becoming watered down versions of themselves.
Yep.
With the few exceptions, like Bianca Belair. I mean, I think she's done very well for herself on SmackDown and being the SmackDown Women's Champion. But
I would agree.
One out of all of the others that have been relegated to lower mid card status are gone now.
Yep.
I mean,
yep.
Now,
Tommy and Malachi Black, whatever you want to call him, is no exception.
Since you were mentioning about like Bianca Belair and stuff like that, people that have been brought up, and she was like one of the ones that kind of survived that that cut of straight to the mid card obscurity. I haven't been watching the last number of weeks. How have they been treating Riddle on Raw?
They just broke up Rated RK Bro.
Oh, really?
How did they do that?
I'm fine with that. Let me guess. Randy Orton RKO'ing him.
Oh, wow. Pooh. Good guess, but no, you're right. No, you're right. Damn it. I don't know what the hell. I guess Randy Orton doesn't own a mirror because this mustache goatee thing he has going on looks like the fucking anonymous mask. Like
really? It looks like ball sack.
Yeah, it does. It looks terrible.
Of course. They take something great like RK Bro, break it up. And how do they break it up? With a freaking RKO to Matt Riddle.
Yep.
I don't give a shit that he only has one name on the main roster. I think that's stupid. He's Matt Riddle.
Yeah.
I'm telling you this. I hope they don't wind up just burying Riddle in mid-card obscurity. I hope they don't. But I'm sure you'll be able to see the surprise on my face, or lack thereof, if it does happen. I'm hoping to the good Lord above it doesn't, but there will be no surprise on my face if it happens.
Yeah.
Nope.
I was really shocked, speaking of weekly still, I was really surprised whenever Finn Balor came back to SmackDown, but
Ugh.
but here's the part that I shouldn't have, here's the part that I should not have been surprised of, and I was highly disappointed in, is they brought back, the neutered babyface version of Finn Balor, not the badass Prince version, anti-hero fucking, Bullet Club version of Finn Balor. I'm like,
oh, of course.
he's
on the main roster now.
I know, right? It's like everything that we did with him down in NXT since we dropped him back down there because you were thinking him in mid-card obscurity in the first place. Let's just throw that out the window and let's just bring him right back up. Like, hey, everybody remember Finn Balor? Everybody remember that you liked him? Yay! Like, fucking hell.
That again, it's and if Beef was here, this is exactly what he'd say. He'd be like, "Oh, what do you know? They're completely neutering NXT talents." And I understand Finn Balor had his run up on the roster and everything like that. Like, I get it, but like, he is an NXT talent. We can agree on that. That's an accurate statement, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We can make that statement. So that's the problem, is that this is just another power play of going NXT ain't shit. That's all it is. That is absolutely all it is. Bar none.
Speaking of that, Poot.
Yeah.
Did you see the new releases from NXT?
Oh my God. There were more beyond the ones that were announced last week?
No, I think that is the same ones. They had like Bronson Reed in it.
Why? Why would you do that?
Well, here, I was reading a little more into it. Apparently Triple H had no idea that those guys were being released.
Wow.
That was a McMahon play.
That doesn't surprise me. That shouldn't surprise me. No. That has Vince written all over it.
Man, this is just a giant fuck around and find out. Like, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. I can't even. I'm so angry. I'm so mad.
I'm surprised.
Poot hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it is. Exactly.
Yep.
By the way, do we have that? Do we have that list handy at all? I mean, I know it happened last week. But,
I got it. You guys talk amongst yourselves until I find it.
While Poot's doing that, just to touch on Finn Balor real quick. Again,
you would, wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, he's a handsome fella. I feel like of all the NXT people, he had the most raw deal given to him. No pun intended.
Yeah. Because
it really looked like he was on a rocket ship to the top in the main roster. I mean, he was the first ever Universal Champion. The first ever Universal Champion. And I have to believe, I take that back. I spoke too soon. I would moderately assume that they would have big plans for him if they planned on making him the inaugural Universal Champion. And that's kind of a big deal to make an NXT guy your first brand new belt. It's the WWE Universe. It's the Universal Champion. What a dumb thing. I still think that's the stupidest thing ever. But it was a big deal to WWE. And to put it on an NXT guy, I feel like is a super big deal. But unfortunately, he got hurt in the match that he won the belt in, and he never recovered.
Let me interject for a second. He got hurt in the match, popped his own shoulder back into place because he's a fucking badass and a consummate professional, and he still carried on. Like, he got injured early into the match.
Oh yeah, it was the it was the buckle bomb on the outside.
Yeah, and I mean, and he soldiered on throughout the rest of that match. So to add even more of the screw job of a deal that he got with that, as Ransom had said, you know, he got a really the short end of the stick, is because in Vince's eyes, unless, you know, there have been a few exceptions over the years, like, you know, Triple H or whatever, or go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I found the list, so whenever you finish your point.
Okay. Yeah. You know, with a few exceptions over the years, once you get injured in Vince's eyes, you're fucking damaged goods, and he doesn't deal with you anymore. And they really, you know, and they really dropped the ball with that. Now, granted, I will say, you know, Kevin Owens stepping up and you know, and doing the thing after the fact, that, you know, good on him. I'm glad that they put faith in KO. But after KO's Universal title run, I mean,
nothing.
Yeah, you know, not a.
I mean, he had a U.S. title run, but who cares?
Yeah, I mean, not a whole lot to really, you know, nothing to call home about, you know.
No, and that's the saddest thing about Finn Balor's main roster career thus far, in my opinion, is that it looked like they put all of their eggs in his basket. He got hurt. They went in typical Vince fashion. Nope, you're out. See ya, kid. And I don't, in my eyes at least, and you guys feel free to correct me if you see differently, but in my eyes, he never recovered on the main roster from that.
Oh no.
He had some big deal matches. He did. He had some big deal matches, but
he got the Intercontinental title, but he never got put back in that, like, realistic. He never had that realistic get a realistic chance given to him to reclaim that Universal title. He never had that big title run. Well, he had that one match against Brock.
Right, but I mean, like, he never got that Universal title back.
Exactly.
He never got the chance to showcase himself and his talent and what he could do with that belt.
Absolutely.
They never gave him another chance.
Yep.
Like,
nope.
What a disappointment.
Oh yeah. Speaking of disappointments, Poot's got that list.
I got the list. I'm gonna start here. We're gonna go Jake Atlas, Ari Sterling, Kona Reeves, which I'm amazed. No offense to Kona Reeves, but I'm amazed that he was still hanging around. Leon Ruff, Stephen Smith, Tyler Rust, Zachariah Smith, Asher Hale, Giant Zingier, Mercedes Martinez, Bobby Fish, and Bronson Reed. Now, the last three are the ones that are really striking, but Bobby Fish is probably the least surprising of all of them because he's older and he's very injury prone. And I like Bobby Fish, but, like, I mean, you know,
he did just come back from his latest injury too.
Yeah. But then, like, Jake Atlas, I mean, they were using him regularly. They were putting him in white meat baby face, you know, spots.
White face baby meat.
Yeah, white face baby meat spots. But, like,
all the Coronas.
No, Kona. Anyway, the poor Kona Reeves. Or as I like, whenever he was the finest Kona Reeves, man, that was like if you went to the dollars, if you went to like Five Below and bought The Rock, it was terrible. It was, he just didn't have the charisma to pull it off. Like, no offense to Kona, but it's like you got to cut your teeth a little bit more. The thing with like Mercedes Martinez and Bronson Reed, those are the two that I go like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yep.
Yeah, Bronson Reed was just North American champion.
Yeah.
Not too long ago.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I don't have a problem with. Okay, I don't have a problem with Swerve Scott having the North American title, What I did have a problem with was them hot potatoing it, having it go from Gargano to Bronson Reed, and then going to Swerve so quickly, like within, not even a couple months span. You know what I mean?
That's what they do.
That's
what they do.
That surprised me that A, they hot potatoed it, and B, that as soon as they took it off of Bronson Reed, then he gets cut. I'm like, what the hell? I'll tell you one that actually kind of surprised me, and you might be surprised by my saying this, is Tyler Rust, because he was kind of on an upswing. Like, he was a funny looking guy. He looked like the anorexic version of Big Cass.
No,
if I may be so bold. But the thing was, is he had a look where he really was like the diamond in the rough. You know what I mean? Like he was that lump of coal, and you're just waiting to turn into the diamond. And I could see it. I was like, I don't know. There was something about him when I saw him. I was like, he's a little awkward, but I think given some time, like he could have really, really shined in NXT. And they just cut. Don't care.
No, they don't.
Wasn't there some article that somebody posted in the group chat, or maybe somebody was talking about it? Isn't there supposedly some sort of revamping of NXT?
Yep.
They're going to be doing some sort of changes or whatnot to it. What's that all about?
Yeah, Beef posted that. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up in the group chat, and I'll get you an answer there. But
I didn't read it too much into that, but that's potentially scary to me.
Oh, it is,
because I felt like NXT was something that WWE was doing right, and of all the things that they needed to revamp or change or whatever, NXT was not that.
Well, I was gonna say while Tom pulls that up and we can expound more on this, there was a little piece of news that I'll just throw in here as a little bit of a kind of a palate cleanser. Keith Lee has finally explained why he has been away from TV. Speaking of NXT people that were brought up to the main roster, and the thing was him and his fiance contracted. He contracted coronavirus first, and she contracted it. People were on the internet were blaming her for giving it to Keith Lee, but it was the other way around. And he said that. So he was a little upset that people were kind of coming at, we're kind of coming at her, with that. It was the other way. Yeah. Like coming at her when it was the other way around. But he said, after he came back after the Elimination Chamber match, he got a call, and I'm gonna do this as quick as possible, just because I feel like it deserves to be touched on, because it really shed some light on why Keith Lee was not around. He said,
"Touch it, baby."
He said, and I quote, he said, "The next day I got a call saying there was something off with my blood. Some people might have experienced this thing where there's an inflammation in their heart or lungs. For me, it was the heart." And he said that led to very scary times, and he was basically forbidden or from any training outside of a light walk. There was a fear of doing more than that, so there was a chance that he could just up and die, like pass away. So for 3 or 4 months, that was the case. He had several MRIs, and he kind of a little bit of shed light on there. He said, by the way, I don't fit in those things. It was a real struggle because he's such a big man.
Yeah, he's a hoss.
It took up until the company sent me up to Pittsburgh to get looked at. And at that point, they went and underwent genetic testing, all sort of things, because it was thought there was a potential for a heart disease. Very fortunately, though, it took long enough time. We waited the amount of time and allowed for the inflammation to his heart to go down. So he is on the mend. He's doing well. On YouTube, there's a full video of him. There's a full video of him explaining everything. You can go to his Twitter. You can find him at Real Keith Lee, which his tag on there is also Eventual Lee. So here's to Keith Lee and his recovery. It's a shame that this hit him when it did, but he's recovering. The company now, to WWE's credit, they were behind him. He's getting healthy, he's getting well, and he's recovering. And I think I can speak for all the P3 crew when we say that that's great to hear, and we hope you get well, and we see you soon, Keith Lee.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed.
All right, so I have that article. It says Vince McMahon's new vision for NXT. This came courtesy of RingsideNews.com. So it says, I'll just read the article here. Vince McMahon is the chairman of WWE and oversees everything that goes on in the company, right down to the most minute of details. Vince McMahon is also larger than life and is known to do the craziest of things. No fucking shit there. For the past few months, WWE has been releasing several talents from their contracts, which began with the likes of Mickie James, putting her shit in a trash bag. Let's add that in. And Chelsea Green being released back in April. The company released even more NXT superstars in their latest batch of releases, including the likes of Bronson Reed, Bobby Fish, which we just talked about. In total, WWE has released 52 superstars so far this year.
Wow.
So, and we're a little over halfway through the year. 52. That's insane. Anyways.
Yeah.
I just think about that on a weekly basis. There's 52 weeks in the calendar year, correct?
Yeah.
So we're not even we're a little over halfway through. That's an average of like releasing at least like 2 people a week. That's crazy.
And that's why there has to be something big on the horizon. There has to be.
Oh, we'll get into that, but because we touched on it before, and I really think something. I agree with you. I think something big is on the horizon. It was previously reported that the recent mass releases from NXT are part of the brand's rebranding. According to Uncle Dave, that's Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, NXT is likely to go back to a more quote old school style of developmental. It was said that the edict from within the company was that they were looking for a very specific group of wrestlers, and they want to change the kind of superstar they're currently bringing in. Quote, no more midgets, no one starting in their 30s. They want people who can be box office attractions and main characters, unquote. Of course, box office attractions is one of those self-fulfilling prophecies. Meltzer further stated that the latest batch of releases came at the order of Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, and John Laurinaitis, and that Triple H and Shawn Michaels had no control over them. We'll have to wait and see. Yada, yada, yada. So our greatest fears came true. We've talked about it before, how if you listen to the early beginnings of this podcast, it was NXT can do no wrong and just keep Vince's grubby hands off of it. Well, here we are. He got his grubby hands on it. And look at what's fucking happening. I'm with Poot in the sense of everything that they've been doing looks like they're moving to sell the company. Now, I know we've said before that Vince will never give up control. Like, he'll die in the gorilla position because, he sleeps 2 hours a night and, I mean...
Well, it's his life. He has no other life outside of wrestling.
It's his life, yeah. But... I don't know. I don't know how he's going to swing it. If they do move to sell, but it's apparently like from what I can't remember what the article was, but it's not Vince himself that was making the decision to move to sell. It was somebody else like on the board and stuff, like the president of something or whatever. I don't remember his name. It's like Kevin something or other.
Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh, I don't even want to go there.
The Taskmaster.
Everybody will get Ben Wad. That's what I'll.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, podcast over. No, it really.
Like all signs seem to be pointing to them wanting to sell because they're gonna cut costs at the expense of losing arguably really, really good, talented wrestlers. But all they're going to do is keep moving that dollar sign up and up and up and showing that they're, hey, look at how profitable we are. We're worth so much. Here's what we want if you're going to buy us. Go on, Poot.
I was just going to ask, do we have picks this week?
No, that's next week.
That's next week? Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Just
trying to keep all the P's and Q's in order.
Here's the thing that doesn't quite scan for me.
Yeah.
With this whole selling thing. And chalk this up to me being an idiot. Because let's face it, I'm no smart guy. I'm a dum-dum. So the thing that just doesn't compute in my mind is if the desire, let's say, to potentially sell is not coming from Vince McMahon, but coming from someone from the board, what is Vince McMahon doing releasing all these people? If the desire to sell the company is not coming from him, but from somebody on the board, why is Vince McMahon making all these decisions to release all these talents? How is that lining up? Because as far as the reports are concerned, or as far as the reports say, it's Vince McMahon releasing all these people and making these decisions with Pritchard and Laurinaitis to do these releases. So how does that factor in with some guy on the board or a group of people potentially on the board wanting to maybe sell the company? How's that all lining up?
I think what it is, now I could be completely wrong. So, I mean, I think what it comes down to is the rest of the board and Vince, talking with their investors or, whatever group consensus. I mean, I know at the end of the day that Vince is, the chairman and everything like that. But that's why you also still have the board of directors, because if he just went completely fucking utterly insane, old man crazy and just started, doing whatever the fuck he wanted, even more so than what he does now, you have that board to, not basically have a mad tyrant on your hands.
It's the checks and balances.
Yeah. So while the initial idea, I don't think came from Vince himself, I think it was probably one of the, like, a board decision, like people saying like, well, I don't know. I that's something we'll probably never know until long after the fact of it happening. And, and if Vince decides to sit down and spill the beans about it or whatever, that's just one of those things we'll never be privy to. But somehow, some way, amongst the board and whoever, are saying like, well, now might be a good time to sell because we cut all these costs because we didn't have to travel and do road shows. We were able to get rid of a lot of people that we basically could have done without. Having a having like a 10-man department when it could be done with the number of like 5 people instead. We saved ourselves money that way. If we can make some of these cuts and stuff like that, whoever's going to come in and buy, they're not necessarily going to be concerned with the creative or whatever and saying, oh, well, why'd you get rid of one of your top and promising NXT talents or anything like that. They're gonna look at the bottom line, dollars and cents. They're coming at it from a purely business aspect. They're not concerned how we are with why the fuck did they get rid of a great talent like Malachi Black? Like, they don't care. To them they don't know who the fuck he is. I mean, let's be real about that. So that's how I think it tracks. They're just all they're doing is just driving up their stock of, we're worth this much, we're able to keep generating this much revenue and this much profit, and look at how much cost that we've cut and how much overhead we've gotten rid of in the way of production cost, in the way of employee, and I use the term employee with air quotes there, because that's a whole nother fucking discussion that we've talked about. But, employee costs and stuff like that, etc., whatever the case is. So, I mean, it's from people that, that know how businesses work and stuff like that. By all accounts, those types of people seem to think that WWE is moving to sell. Now, I mean, who knows? We could be way off. Maybe they're just, I don't know, whatever. Maybe Vince is doing it just to make more money. Why he needs more at his age, who fucking knows? But I don't know.
Well, I don't. I really. We've said this the past couple weeks. It really bums me out whenever we come on here and we just kind of we talk about these problems with WWE, but it's becoming less like fan ragey and more like, are you okay, bro? Do you need to talk to someone? Like, do you need me to call someone? Do you want to go have a beer and talk it out? Like, you okay, WWE? Like that. It's I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. Like it. And that's the thing, is how can you look at your product and see something so great as NXT and not just let it be itself and just sit there and collect money? And when you just got to fiddle fuck around with it, I don't understand. Like, Pat, what like where are you coming from on this?
I honestly, I don't understand it. It's making no sense to me. And just for the fun of it, I was thinking like a conspiracy theorist.
Oh no!
And
Yank
back
frogs.
in the mid '90s when WWE was struggling, all the talent they got rid of that went to WCW, but then you had an influx of a main event talent in WCW that they couldn't afford to pay and didn't have anything to do with, and it folded. And the conspiracy theorist in me says, well, maybe he's trying to pull the same thing again with AEW and TNA, but I know that's not the case. I don't think Tony Khan's that stupid.
No,
and Cody's not going to let that happen.
That's the one glaring difference that I don't think. Yeah. I don't think that we'll ever see AEW have that problem that WCW did, because the biggest problem with WCW, was one, letting their talent have way too much creative control. Fucking brother all over the place.
Right.
And not investing in their up and coming talent. Now that and that's why you had Triple H spearheading NXT in the first place, was because he went through that era. He worked through that. He saw the mistakes of what happened in WCW. I mean, he worked there for a short period of time himself before coming over to the WWE as Triple H. For those of you not in the know of that, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
No, he was WCW.
Yeah. He was He was Jean-Paul Levesque.
No, he was Terrorizer.
Well, he was both, wasn't he?
Terrorizing.
He wasn't
terrorizing.
Terrorizing.
He was Terrorizer. He wasn't Jean-Paul Levesque until he came to WWE.
Really?
No, I'm pretty sure he was Jean-Paul.
He wanted to be like a terrorizing figure in WCW, and I can't remember the guy that pitched it. He goes, "Oh, okay, you want to be a terrorizer? We're going to split it in half. You're going to be Terrorizer."
Yeah,
it was. He was
ahead.
Jean-Paul Levesque at some point. It might have been like late in WCW after the terrorizing thing happened, because that was a real thing. That was a real thing, and it's hilarious. It's almost as hilarious as Oz.
But oh god! But in any case, but Triple H, having the mind for the business that he does, saw how mismanaged WCW was, and that's the thing that everybody, like anybody that was in WCW and ended up coming over to WWE because they were so upset with it, like your Jerichos and your Guerreros and everything like that. They said it was just a revolving door of management, of people coming in and who had no idea of how to run a wrestling business, coming in and trying to do all this stuff, and you never knew who to report to or anything like that. Like the only one constant there was Bischoff, but he was, so balls deep in the NWO and Hogan's butthole. I mean, like he didn't care about anything else going on. All they cared about was the NWO, and the rest will work itself out. Like that was the problem. I don't think you'll ever see that out of AEW. In the fact that just Tony Khan is not fucking Ted Turner. You know what I mean?
No.
I mean, he's got him and his dad got some Ted Turner money and then some, I'm sure.
Right.
But Tony Khan at heart, from all accounts, what everybody has said about him, whenever I've listened to other, AEW stars on their podcasts and stuff like that, they always have nothing but good things to say about Tony and the mind that he has for the business, and just how well he treats his employees. So I don't think you'll ever have to worry about that. So even if the conspiracy theory were true and Vince were trying to say like, oh, okay, well, I'll make them screw themselves and I'll do this. Like Vince is out of his goddamn mind, because
what if it's
Well, he is.
Oh yeah, absolutely certifiable.
Yeah.
What if it's more like shadow organization-y than that? Because people are now throwing around the statement of WWE is just feeding AEW, just feeding it. They're just feeding them talent, and it's like, what if? Okay, following that kind of tinfoil hatty logic, what if Vince McMahon is going, oh, this is going to be, I can send these talents elsewhere, cook them, and then whenever I'll have more money down the road, I can throw more money at them to bring them here and they'll be more established. And then it's just turnkey at that point.
I don't
know.
chime in and I'm going to say no.
Like
strictly from the point of too many people I feel like have been burned in WWE to where they're not going to want to come back regardless of money. Because if they get over in AEW, it's not like I would be more apt to believe that if it was, oh, okay, he's releasing these people and they're going to Ring of Honor or New Japan or Impact, and they're going to grow, they're going to make an established name for themselves, and then once they're baked a little bit, WWE brings them back for a pile of money. I think if they go to AEW, they prove their worth, they get over, they become super popular. Tony Khan, like someone was just saying, Tony Khan has the money to say, oh, well, we brought you in at this level, you have vastly improved in the ring, on the mic, you're selling merch, you're super popular, other wrestlers want to do business with you, the fans love you, we're going to up your pay. Like, I don't think that that is a realistic fear, if fear's the right word, with AEW, because Tony Khan can pay his people. There's no doubt there. So I'd be a lot more apt to believe a conspiracy theory like that if AEW wasn't around. Because let's face it, Impact and Ring of Honor, they don't have Tony Khan money. They don't have Vince McMahon money. So those guys could go there, get baked, and then come back to WWE for a pile of money.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to do that with AEW because A, they'll be able to get paid just as well there as they would in WWE, and they're not going to be neutered there like they are in WWE. Their creative visions are going to be heard. They're not going to be restrained. They're not going to be so rigidly adhering to scripts like they do in WWE. I think people that go to AEW are going to get that taste of freedom and go, oh, I can wrestle here, get paid for it, get paid well, and be listened to. Because let's face it, when you're a wrestler, it's not just about going out, wrestling, getting paid, and having a fan base. Most wrestlers have that desire to be creative.
Yep.
And if you're going to want to work for a company that's going to allow you to explore your creativity, and is going to legitimately listen to your ideas for your character. Because if you put that much passion into cultivating a character for yourself, I feel like you're going to be more successful in the eyes of the fans, as opposed to saying, hey, you're a wrestler, we're giving you a character, be this character.
Yeah, and another thing too, to add on to that with AEW is the fact that they, the fact that they've been opening up the quote unquote forbidden doors and have been, getting these working relationships with New Japan and Impact, and NWA, so and that's another thing that the WWE has going against it, is that they're in their own bubble and not really thinking outside the box. Like, I mean, look, Kenny Omega is the perfect example. I mean, like, Christ, he still has how many belts? Is he still the AAA fucking Omega champion or whatever it is?
I have no idea if he's lost any belts.
No, I don't, because they didn't allude to it. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean,
Pat, did you say something, Pat?
No, I was gonna say this again. Why we need Beef here, because he knows about all the titles.
Yeah, he does.
And every other wrestling promotion.
Beef, we love you and we miss you.
Yep.
Let's not get carried away here.
Yeah, let's not say things we can't take.
Oh my!
Listen,
Pat coming out shooting. Oh, here we go. Here's the next feud.
Pat v Beef.
Feud between me and Bob Gray. Now there's a feud between Beef and Pat. Oh Lord!
And then Tom and I are just sitting pretty, being like, "Yep,
just gonna sit back and watch the world burn."
Yep. Well, who else do we have? Who else can I take on? We'll see. We have the bastard Pat.
Denny, take on Denny.
Yeah, fuck it. I'll take on Denny. Why not? I don't care.
Denny, come get some.
I'll take on my own raging emotions.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh, Bard versus his alter ego, the guitar bongo.
Bongo.
No. Bongo Bungo.
Oh no.
Bongo.
No, Boot the Pard.
Bongo.
I'll be against Boot the Pard.
Shit, damn.
Shit. Oh shit, damn.
Shit, damn.
All right. What do you guys think about doing a little bit of trivia? Since I don't think we have a Stump the Chumps this week, because Beef's not here. I feel like it'd be remiss to do a. I didn't send anything. He says.
Damn it, Pat.
I love it, Pat. You're dropping the ball.
We're gonna be on the show and everything.
On your own episode, you're shit in the bed, bud. All right. No, I have a good question.
Ooh.
I have a good question. It's not.
I like that.
It's not it's not a super it's a little bit of a softball. I'd say it's a chubby ball. There we go.
Oh,
it's not a softball. It's not a hard ball. It's a chubby ball.
We'll say it's softball, but fast pitch.
Yes.
Damn it. Do it, Steve Dave.
All right, you ready? So we all know the infamous War Games match. The War Games match, right? So in WCW there were only 2 years that they did there were 2 years they did War Games variations, okay? And in 2000 they did one that was a format called War Games 2000. And there are two things I want you to tell me about War Games 2000. I want you to tell me the members of the two teams that were pitted against each other. And I want you to tell me the tagline of War Games 2000. It was War Games 2000 blank. So I want you to give me the members of each team that were pitted against each other.
The members of each team.
Yeah.
Shit, damn, son.
Oh man.
Are you sure this isn't a hardball question?
Yeah, this is.
I know
I'm a WCW guy, but still. Well, if it's 2000, surely the NWO 2000 was involved in it. Come on.
I was gonna say
War Games 2000, NWO 2000.
Yeah.
It's got it written all over each other.
It's either that or it's literally the cast of the movie Ready to Rumble, and it was those teams.
It is not. I will give you
Okay.
that. It is not the
Okay.
cast of Ready to Ramble. It's not the cast of Rambin to Ramble.
Damn it.
Ransom to Ramble?
Random to
No!
random to Bamble.
Ramble to Bambi?
What?
Okay.
Anyway.
Wow.
Somebody's gonna get shot at the end. That's all I know.
Well, whenever you put guns in pro wrestling, it's always compelling. Isn't that right, Brian
New
Pillman?
Jack.
Brian Pillman.
Yeah.
Pillman, Brian. Okay.
Wait a minute,
got
wait a
a
minute.
gun.
All right. So what was
Okay.
going on in WCW in
So
the 2000s?
was this around the time that like Russo was going crazy?
When wasn't he?
Well, I mean,
Yes.
like-
yes.
Yeah, it was.
yeah.
That was pretty much
No.
that was the death rattle of WCW was Vince Russo coming back and riding around in his Pope mobile and stuff.
That's right. This stupid War Games. Thank you, Pat. This stupid War Games
Yeah.
was when Russo was there because this one wasn't the tagline. Russo's Revenge.
See, I don't know, but
That
Told
sounds
you,
like
I'll
Vince
told you.
Russo.
That sounds like
you-
a Command and Conquer game, honestly.
I was gonna say I'll
Command and
give you
Conquer, Russo's Revenge.
when you guys put in your final answers, I will tell you if you're right or wrong.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm damn near certain that has to be it. It's got to be Russo's Revenge.
All right,
Because
I'm going with Ransom on that one.
Yeah.
'Cause he's Mr.
Is that-
WCW.
that was the Russo era, and I think Russo picked a team. It was Russo's hand-picked people against a bunch of schmoes, and I think it was
Yeah.
damn near like an NWO 2000 almost, because I think Kevin Nash would have been the champion around that time,
Probably.
and I think Steiner. So I think
Which
Russo's
one?
team would have been Nash and Steiner, and
Scott Steiner?
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, not Rick, poor Rick Steiner.
Yeah,
Um,
what the fuck did he ever do after? He came back for he was part of the NWO for a while.
He's a
but-
realtor. Now.
Okay, but I meant before
Sell me
before
a
WCW collapsed. He
I think he might have been part of NWO at some point. I mean, let's face it. In WCW, at some point in time, who wasn't a member of the NWO?
Yeah.
Ric Flair
Sure.
Well, yo,
in
Rick.
WCW. And anyways, we're getting off topic there.
Stupid Rick.
Yeah,
So Nash and Steiner definitely would have been on a team together.
yeah.
I imagine if it's NWO 2000, even if it wasn't NWO 2000, I think stupid,
slap.
what's his face?
Jeff
Yeah,
Jarrett.
that guitar swinging son of a bitch would have been
Yeah, Jeff Jarrett.
Son of a
prominently
bitch.
featured in
Oh.
WCW, so he probably would have been on that team.
Old slap nuts himself. Yeah.
So
Who else?
Were there like tag teams involved with it too?
probably.
Like
I think Chronic was involved, but I think they probably would have been on the other team.
they probably been. What about the Harris brothers?
The Harris. Oh yeah, those the freaking DOA, right?
Yeah,
They were the DOA in WWF.
in WWE. Yeah.
That's okay. I think that's probably what it was. So it was Nash, Steiner, the Harrises, and Jarrett on freaking Dummy Russo's team.
Okay.
And then if a tag team was involved, Chronic was a big tag team in WCW in the 2000s, so they probably would have been on the opposing team.
No, I thought they were earlier than that.
No, because they came over to WWF after the invasion. I don't think they were there long, but they came over
Okay.
for like a cup of coffee.
Okay.
What's his name? Brian Adams and Adam Bomb or whatever the hell damn name his
Brian
was.
Clark.
Yeah,
Brian Clark.
yeah, Crush and Adam Bomb. Yeah, they came back. They were Chronic in WWF, so they would have been in WCW at that point, probably at least prominently featured. So those two. And really, the only other big names I can think of on the opposing team would have been Booker T was big. Sting probably was still there. And freaking Tom's favorite guy, William.
Okay.
William Goldschlager.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say.
How many is that?
Regal.
Is that?
I thought you were gonna say William Regal because I love the whole "he's a man."
He's a man. No, he was well within WWE at that point.
Okay, yeah, that's right. He was.
So is that the right amount of people for that team? Chronic would have been 2. Goldie.
Sting, Booker T, Goldberg. That's
Sting,
5.
Booker. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's my final answer there. Poot. I don't know how the other 2 feel, but I think that's my final answer.
All right, so
I'll go with Ransom because I know he's Mr. WCW.
All right, so
I'll go with that.
Run it.
Terrible moniker to have.
Run it back for me. So we're saying the tagline is
Russo's Revenge.
All right, and so on one team that's not Russo's, you said, what are the members?
We said Chronic, Booker, Goldie, and Sting.
Okay.
And then Russo's team was Nash, Steiner, the Harrises, and who was the last one? Old Slabnuts.
Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
Told you it was going to be a softball. You nailed it.
Wow.
I don't know. That wasn't. Wow. Yeah, I don't know if it was super soft. That took a little bit of digging though.
It was a softball. It was like, it's a WCW question. It's in the oddball WCW time. The Ransom's got the thing that I'm amazed that you got was Russo's Revenge. Now here's the fucky part. You ready for this? That was the match that happened here the night of. This is how it all came to be, that it was Russo's handpicked team versus Sting, Booker, Old Goldberg, and Chronic. Here's how it happened. The match, and I quote the great online resource of Wikipedia, the match had been scheduled as a 4-on-4 match with Sting, Booker T, Goldberg, and Ernest the Cat Miller against Nash, Jarrett, Steiner, and Russo. Earlier in the night, each man from the first team was forced to wrestle a qualifying match to compete. Sting beat both Vampiro and Great Muta in a handicap match. Goldberg defeated Shane Douglas, and Booker T defeated his brother Stevie Ray. However, Miller lost to Chronic in a handicap match, making it 5-on-4. Thus, when it was time to enter, Russo sent the Harris brothers instead, making it 6-on-5.
Wow.
That was a whole bunch of fuckiness that happened the event of. It's a miracle, guys, with this very not confusing, not stupid, not egotistical booking at all. It's amazing that WCW is not with us today. Fucking like it's and then even Goldberg broke free of the handcuffs that he was thing because handcuffs in the thing. He was cut off by Bret Hart, who slammed the door in his face, and there's all kinds of fuckery and gimmicks and everything. But I just figured that would be a really good one. Before we burrito up, boys, does anyone else have a question that they came up with or want to throw at us?
This is an off the wall goofball question, but Poot's question reminded me of this, and I don't know. Maybe somebody can look it up while they're answering or freaking get it. I don't know. But those guys that were in that match, one of them was scheduled to have a boxing career. Who was it?
Ernest the Cat Miller.
That was in that match.
That was in the match.
That was actually in the match.
Oh, that was actually in the match?
Yeah. They had a boxing match scheduled. It never actually happened, but it was scheduled as a legit boxing match at Mandalay Bay.
I'm gonna say it's either Brian Adams or one of the Harrises.
I'd say it's the Harris.
Anybody want to narrow down?
Nah, not at all. I don't know shit about that era.
I like how when we get a little long in the tooth. Well, no, and also no, like this is an interesting factoid that I can't wait to hear. I don't know, Pat. I guess it's down to you and I.
All right, I'm gonna go here. I'll go Don Harris.
You're gonna go Don Harris.
Don Callis. Oh no, that's a different guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know shit about the late WCW, like NWO 2000 Slapnuts era, because
Slapnuts
No.
era.
well, no, yeah, because I mean, by that point, I was I had, was so ingrained into WWF. So I mean,
just to spread out, I'm gonna go with Brian Adams, because Brian Clark passed away, if I recall, not too long after the switch over to WWE. I'm gonna go with Brian Adams.
Brian Adams was scheduled to have a boxing match at Mandalay Bay. However, during his training, he injured his shoulder and wasn't able to have the match. Now, as a little side note on that, there was another wrestler that was scheduled to be in his corner during that match. Who was that?
Oh. Part of me wants to say the other half of Chronic, but that doesn't really make any sense. Maybe Flair? No. Pat, help.
I got nothing.
You got nothing. You did not even like a throw it in the ring.
No.
Man.
Time's ticking. Who is it? Wild guess.
Chris Kanyon.
Ooh.
Who was the other Poffo brother, the genius? What was his name?
Lanny Poffo.
Yeah, Lanny Poffo. I'm gonna go with Lanny Poffo.
Oh, Pooh was super close. It was actually Randy.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah, Randy Savage was scheduled to be in his corner during that boxing match that actually never took place. What a shame.
You know what? I'll take being that close, because I was just like, I don't know. He seems kind of weird enough just to be there.
Right? Right? He does.
Yeah, like I just kind of threw that out there. That was good. That was a good question, Ransom. You pull out some of the goofiest questions, and I like it. Boys, this was a pretty good episode. A lot of salient points being made. A lot of us being disappointed at WWE, but also a lot of positivity, and also I think a healthy criticism of AEW going forward. I still am hopeful. I am still hopeful that they are going to move forward in a more judicious, proper way. With the care of Adam Page and what they're doing with the title picture. We want to thank the bastard Pat himself, for coming over and being part of this episode, especially in the absence of Sicky Doodle Beef. We really, really appreciate it, Pat. Thank you very much.
Yeah, not a problem, guys.
Yeah, man. And it's always good to have guests on the podcast. And if you want to be a guest on the podcast, all you got to do is come up with a question like the ones that we just threw out and email it to pittsburghpiledriverpodcast@gmail.com. One email with the question, another email with the answer, but do us a favor, put some spaces in there so that Beef doesn't see the answer, or whoever reads the email doesn't see the answer right away, so that we can make sure that we all have our full power going in there, just so it's not in the header of the email, the answer there. We'd appreciate that. Want to also thank our sponsors very quickly. Want to thank Mr. Tiger Bomb Tom. Uppercut. And his page, Casual Gaming Dad, over on Facebook. You can catch him, Casual Gaming Dad. Again, that's Casual Gaming Dad. Make sure that you follow his streams as he gets going, since he's moved into the new Tiger Den and gets going on his streams. It's going to be really, really good. We always play Among Us on Tuesdays, and it's always a bunch of sussy fun. We want to tell you to join Casual Gaming Dad's Corner while we're over there. That's his community page on Facebook. Again, that's Casual Gaming Dad's Corner. We also want to tell you to go to Gould Gaming and buy some Casual Gaming Dad merch. Again, go to gouldgaming.com and search on Casual Casual Gaming Dad, where you can not only get some high-quality Casual Gaming Dad merch, you yourself can get your very own Pittsburgh Pile Driver Podcast t-shirt. We also want to thank Frig Off Ransom and his channel, Frig Off Ransom, our very own Ransom the Madman. And if you subscribe, you could have a chance to win some sweet trucker hat merch or some other fun Ransom merch. It looks really good. And maybe, just maybe, I'll get one day and be able to rep my favorite trucker hat and insane madman over there. And I want to throw up there, just because I know the channel's been kind of dead. I've been busy playing music and fixing guitars and doing other things of that nature. Go on over and check out Poot the Bard and his YouTube channel, Poot the Bard. A lot of good stuff from years gone by that I did a lot of Let's Plays. I did some guitar reviews. It was a lot of fun. We also, again, I'm going to throw it out there, want to thank the bastard Pat for coming on and being part of this. I know I thanked him already, but it just bears repeating. And we also want to thank Mr. Sean Tischler and his work with IWC in Clearfield. Really good to see some of the alumni doing some great things. Mambo Italiano, of course, the Spazmaniac himself. I want to congratulate him. He's doing some great things. And we also want to congratulate Wardlow. Why not? Let's congratulate Wardlow. He's, of course, an IWC alumni. They mentioned that on Dynamite this past Wednesday. And, yeah. Well, thank you, everybody, for doing that. And also make sure that you send all the love and support to Mr. Beef the Legend as he gets well, because it sounds like he's very sicky and he's throwing up. His little tum-tum's hurting. Hopefully he doesn't shit his pants, have it run down his leg, go down the street, go down the highway, and hit North Carolina. We don't want that to happen. You knew it was coming. For myself, the Barbarian, Poot the Bard, Dr. Bedtime himself, Mr. Casual Gaming Dad, Tiger,
uppercuts,
Bomb Tom, our very own reigning, defending, undisputed choo-choo chooserweight champion. Don't care what anyone says. Bend the knee to the Mad King.
He went into the ether.
Oh,
sweet Jesus. We lost him to the Matrix.
Bend the knee to the Mad King. Bend the knee to the Mad King. Okay? Bend the knee to the Mad King, Mr. Alec Ransom. They can't hear me. The internet's going bad, but guess what? I have the raw recording. I can go ahead and say that. It's fine. It'll all be fine. You guys just go ahead and hang out. There we go. I'm going to mute those dum-dums for this closeout. I love you all very much. Anyway, I'm going to see if I can get my internet going again here. Maybe we can get ourselves a little tagline. If not, I guess it's up to me. So I just want to tell you folks, thank you for listening to the P3 podcast, and bend the knee to our Mad King. I'm going to finish now. Mr. Ransom the Madman. And of course, for our absent Beef the Legend, you all have a wonderful evening. Tagline. Oh, nope, they're gone. I'm sorry, what was that? One more time?
I said,
Exactly.
Well, you were gone. I said, well, Poot might be dead. The lightning might have struck Poot's house. He might be dead. Beef's bleeding from the inside, so we're going to have to promote Pat to full-time member of the podcast so that we can get a quorum.
And then you came back on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Hey, you know what,
Poot
guys?
came back and ruined it for Pat.
You know what? It's okay, because guess what? We just got the best tagline ever.
What?